everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Outsiders, The Good Fight. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, Outsiders, The Good Fight is the one-year latest story for the Outsiders, and there's two things that are worth pointing out for you guys when it comes down to this. The first thing is that this Outsiders story is broken up into three smaller stories that have an overall main story arc. In addition to that, the stories in these, for the most part, transition over into the next phase, which is Pay As You Go. Particularly the Mad Scientist story, which starts off in The Good Fight and ends in Pay As You Go. So with that said, we can just jump right into these stories. Now, it's worth pointing out that since the Infinite Crisis, the whole entire world thinks that the Outsiders are dead, with the exception of Nightwing. Nightwing is still perceived to be alive by the superhuman community, but everyone else is perceived to be dead. This is so that the Outsiders can do their shady, darker tactics without having to feel the ramification of the superhuman community, and also the community of people in general. The story starts off with the Outsiders infiltrating the nation of Malia, going into their corrupt government and trying to stop the evil that's being done there. Particularly Thunder, who is going undercover as one of the government officials. Now, you really start to see some of the darker, shadier stuff here when the Outsiders actually captures one of the people that are part of the government, ties them up, and tortures them while wearing masks. It's a little dark, but it's actually kind of cool because you really see the Outsiders going to the limit, really starting to become a more black ops, darker team than they were beforehand. Beforehand, they were just a foul-mouthed team that would go out and try to stop trouble before it started. Now they're a team that's actually going at it and doing whatever is necessary to get the job done. Now, while infiltrating the nation of Malia, Malia sends out their own defenses, and their defenses is a super speed superhuman. The super speed superhuman is eventually defeated by the Outsiders, and they find out that this person is actually Jay Garrick, or rather a clone of Jay Garrick, and this leads into the second story, which is them going up against the Brotherhood of Evil. The Brotherhood of Evil are creating these super-powered clones and selling them off, more or less for money, but also the real reason why they're doing this is because they want to find a way to clone a new body for Brain. Their cloning has been unsuccessful up to this point, and that's why they're basically trying to create all these superhuman powered clones to sell them off to nations so that they can make more money to continue their research. The Outsiders go in there to stop the Brotherhood of Evil, which then transitions over to the next story, which is the Mad Scientist story, which deals with Dr. Sylvian, or Savannah, don't know how you pronounce his name correctly. But they go up against him and try to stop him in his world domination tactics, which again goes into the next story arc. With that said, I can just jump into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, the story starts off very nicely. I like the first few pages where you don't even know who is in the story or what's happening, or you didn't even know it was Thunder until she revealed it was Thunder undercover, which is pretty cool. So the story starts off pretty nicely, and them going up against the super speed clone of Garrick, Jay Garrick, was actually pretty cool too. Especially the part where he jumps on top of Grace and punches the shit out of her, which is really what I think a speedster would do if he ever got into a fight. It's nice to see the Brotherhood of Evil there. Although I do feel as though they were forced into the story, it was nice to see them there. I mean, who doesn't love the Brotherhood of Evil? It's an ape that's super smart and a brain that's in a machine. Anyways, and then moving on, we also have Dr. Sylvian, or Savannah, who actually turns out to be a really interesting and cool bad guy who has a lot of ties to the Outsiders, which you may or may not know. It's not revealed necessarily in this story, more or less towards the end of Judd Winnick's run on the Outsiders, but he's actually portrayed as a very competent evil supervillain that really knows how life works in the superhero world. I love the cast for the Outsiders in this. We got the original Metamorpho, which I think really cements the group back to its origins a bit with the original team. We got Thunder, who's a character that I actually enjoy a lot. She's growing on me, but she doesn't quite have as much development as, say, Grace, who Grace is just probably the best new Outsider member in general since Judd Winnick took over. She's a character that's developed a lot, and she has a lot of charm to her. Then we have Nightwing, who is, again, a great character, although he doesn't change too much in the story, but he is still badass. And then finally Katana joins back in the group. Still another character to cement them back to the original team. And Katana's pretty much a badass in this group too. Bad points. Well, I feel as though the Brotherhood of Evil was kind of thrown in there. It does make sense with the whole cloning and trying to get Brain a new body and all that junk, but it's not necessary. I actually would have liked it if they took out the Brotherhood of Evil and dealt more with Dr. Sivana. Or Sylvian, or whatever. So that's a bad point. Another bad point is that this gets broken up into a bunch of small parts, and I feel as though the transition from part to part, while it works, it doesn't feel so natural. I mean, something can still work and not feel natural. So it feels a little rugged when it comes to transition from story to story. It doesn't feel as though there is an overall story arc. There is, but it doesn't feel like it. The next is that it doesn't feel like there's much of a conclusion to this. There's no satisfying ending because it does transition over to the next trade. Whether or not you should get it. Well, this is going to sound silly, but if you've been continually picking up Outsiders up until this point, yes, I recommend continuing the Outsiders series. You're close to the end of Judd when it's run on Outsiders, so you might as well just punk it out, whether you like it or you don't. I think this was a good story, I think this was fun, but I think it was one of the weaker Outsiders stories, too, because it lost its charm that it had in the original few trades. In the original few trades, we had this very fun feel to it. Now we're getting really, really serious and really, really dark, which isn't necessarily bad. It's not. It's just not what the Outsiders were beforehand. So, with that said, good fight. If you've been continuing your Outsiders collection, pick it up. If you're new to the Outsiders, I would recommend avoiding this and getting something else first, like Looking for Trouble or Batman and the Outsiders Showcase to that, something like that. So with that said, I'm going to end this review here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.